Welcome to the Blessed to Teach show. This is Rick, your host. I got a special guest I'll introduce in just a second. We are talking about a deep state attempt to kill Trump. Some good evidence of that. We'll show you that in about 15 or 20 minutes. I'm going to really dig into the second part first, and that is the Fed is tanking the economy. Is that true? I've got an expert on it here in Bob Kudlow, and this is the Blessed to Teach show on January 19th, Saturday. First, no, you weren't first, Jerry, but I see Terry and David and Ron and Jerry coming on. Do appreciate you guys taking time to come on here live at this show. We're also podcasting on 5 different platforms. So again, we got people coming in, Bob, from all over the place. We're from Minnesota and somebody from New Zealand. We got all the way from Dallas and New Jersey, etc. So let's get started here. I've had Bob on a few times, and it's always awesome to get his insight. And Bob, I know that this is Bob Kudlow from Trade Genius, and I've started taking a lot of these crypto classes. That's what I'm most interested in, but he does a lot more than that. But I really wanted to dig in first, if you don't mind, and getting really into this whole Federal Express. Maybe you can, for those of you who may have not heard of you before, maybe introduce yourself a little bit. But I first wanted to talk about this Breitbart article about the Fed crashing the economy. But would you introduce yourself a little bit first?
Yeah, so Happy New Year to you, Rick. And hey, everybody, I'm Bob Kudlow from Trade Genius. And my background, quick thumbnail, born and raised in Pennsylvania, educated there. I was an officer in the Marine Corps. And then after that, I had a 25-year career in financial services space, software side, where I became a senior VP in charge of mergers and acquisitions and business development. And,
right.
So always enjoyed looking around the corners in the future. And then I had an opportunity to start my own business, got into solar energy, and also my passion was trading in Hawaii. And I figured let's try to combine the three while I was young enough to do it. And so I've been offering trading services since 2011, and Trade Genius is our company. And what we do is we provide trade signals, we provide education, we provide trading room access where people can interact with ourselves and each other.
That's the coolest part, I think.
Yeah. Rick's been getting into the crypto training a little bit, and then we also offer personal coaching, and so we cover the gamut. We stocks, binary options, and cryptocurrencies, and we have experts in each of those areas that are really masters of what they do there, and all it's wrapped up into software algorithms that we created to look at basically buying patterns and selling patterns, and we try to position our buy signals and sell signals where we think it's the best opportunity for a reversal and where people can make money. And we try to make people money nearly every day in the market. So we've had a really good run last 6 months crypto, even though cryptos haven't done anything. And in fact, a lot of them are lower than they were in July. We're up over 250% on the trade signals that we provide. And the stock market, as you know, has been atrocious until the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we're up nearly 100% on our trade signals there too. And all this is normal stuff. So no crazy penny stocks and no magic, pixie dust. It's all really straightforward methodologies and take the emotion out. So that's what we do, Rick. And then my passion is for this country and for truth and integrity and what I would call, true currency and real economic growth, and not this fake stuff that we're getting. And I think that's what kind of brought us together in the first place, because I think we have aligned thinking.
Yeah, exactly. So, true patriot who loves the country and also is a believer. So that's the one thing I love.
I'm a believer in Lord Jesus Christ, my Savior.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. So obviously a good fit here. So I wanted to make sure I'm seeing somebody wants the volume up on you, so I'm gonna turn you up, Bob. So let me know. Go ahead and talk a little bit about this Federal Reserve crash, the economy that did in 1929.
Yeah,
what do you think about that?
Yeah, so this is actually the third time in which they've attempted this. And I think the article you have on there even references 1929. Going back to the very beginning, and I'll just give a quick history lesson. The Federal Reserve was forced upon the American citizenry by the progressive movement, and very first thing they did. And the reason why Federal Reserve's central banks existed in the first place was so England and France
saying
could.
That's better. Sorry. Everybody's saying it's better sound-wise, so we're doing good now.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Yeah, so England and France could fight a war without taxing their citizens into not fighting a war anymore. So they just created a way to create debt. They shoved America into this process, and we got the income tax, and we got into World War I. And so going into the 1920s, they were goosing the economy really hard, just like they did for Obama in 2009 till Trump got elected in 2016. And when Hoover got elected in 1928, they cut 80% of their what they call their balance sheet. And that's what a lot of people are hearing today. It's called quantitative tightening, and it's balance sheet reduction. And in addition to that, they're raising interest rates. Well, in 28 to 29, they dropped it by 80%, and they put the country into a Great Depression. So this nonsense that they say they never see these things coming, they actually caused these things to come.
Exactly right.
And so
just crazy.
So they did it. Yeah, they did it in 29, and then they basically killed Hoover, and they did it again in 1932, and then they did it again when Reagan got elected with them raising interest rates up to almost 17%.
That was,
Reagan kind of survived that. They broke that fever, and then they did it to Bush 1, and they got him out of office to bring in the globalist Bill Clinton. This time, though,
although Bush was a globalist too, but they wanted their new puppet in of Obama, right?
Yeah, they wanted a guy they could polish on their own, and
right.
But with Trump, when they started to do that, he's not stupid. He's seen that he can read, and he got in front of it. And so, as they were doing this, he started to put the visibility, the searchlight on to the Federal Reserve. And then all of a sudden, the stock market crashed 18%.
Okay.
And so the Federal Reserve, they freaked out. And around the world, not just the U.S. central banks freaked out. China, their economy started to implode. Europe is going to implode anyway. That's a story for another day. Europe is gone. You want to talk about iron and clay? You got iron and clay in Europe. The Japanese are already zombied, and then the U.S. stopped. Lowering their balance sheet, and they lifted this market back up. And I think now if they try to do it again, everybody knows Trump made the connection for the American people. The Federal Reserve, if they keep doing what they're doing, they'll tank the economy, they'll tank the stock market. And so now the Federal Reserve, I think, has been neutered.
Yeah.
And, I know we talked about this before, they, with Q talking about maybe this reform coming. I think this is a first step, because now if they try to pull anything again, Trump could say, hey, we may need to do something more provocative, just like he's doing with the Democrats now, teaching them how to deal with him and with the immigration thing. I think the Federal Reserve now has been put on notice. So I think if they try anything, they'll try again, a year from now, to have it what they did to George Bush 1, is try to tank the economy going into the election. But I think for now they're going to be very careful, and I think that's off the table.
Okay, great. Hey, I've got my volume maximized. I just want to see. Hey guys, tell me number one if the volume's fine. Two, if it even needs to be higher. Bob, you might need to speak up just a little bit. But there we go.
Okay.
Yeah, so it looks, people can hear you well, but I'm louder than you are a little bit. So just speak up a little bit. I think we'll be fine. Yeah, ones. Okay, everybody's saying it's looking really good ever since I got my volume changed there. Good. But I love your insight into just the history of this. And I was just shocked, like in 2008, during the end of the Bush years, where my business got cratered, right, that I had to open up in 2006. And it was just shocking as I got into this to see that, wow, that worst economy in 50 years was caused by them wanting it to happen. And it was just really painful to know that's happened to so many people that got hurt in 2008.
Yeah, look, I mean, people need to understand the central banks around the world are really trying to bring in world communism.
Yeah.
That's one of Marx's, I think it's his manifesto number 5, is to not allow any alternative ways in which to do business and have a centralized banking system control it all. And these guys can do it all without any government oversight whatsoever. So when they do this stuff, they're like heroin dealers. They put really low interest rates out there. They get people thinking, hey, I can cover that nut, and they buy more things than they can attempt to pay back over time, and then they get to steal it from the people. So they use artificial money to lend it to you, and then they steal back real assets when things tank. And look what happened. I mean, we had 20% of the housing product went from people's hands to now into BlackRock asset management, and now that they're all rentals. And so that's the kind of stuff that you see when they do this. And look, in Japan, they own their entire bond market, and I think they own nearly 50% or 60% of their ETFs. In the United States, 20% of all the assets are underneath the Fed's purview, the central bank Fed's purview. And in Europe, over 49% of all assets are owned by their central banks. So essentially, the banks own everybody. And so that's going to be a problem when we go into our next recession, which will probably be sometime in 2020. It's just a natural state of affairs. You just can't run, from 2009 to infinity economic growth. At some point, you're going to get a retrenchment, and I think that's coming. And then you're really going to see who's swimming naked when that washes out, and it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, that'll be real interesting. So, I have Christian prophets I read or talk about at the end of these. I'm probably throwing you a little bit for a loop here, but there's a guy named Kim Clement who actually talked about getting rid of the debt, and that it was going to be some ingenious way that the Lord gives Trump, and he's going to hold up this stone, and it's going to be a way, it was something to do with gold and stone, that's going to actually, and Trump obviously, to eliminate the debt. You have any thoughts on the being able to eliminate the debt?
Yeah, actually, that's not too far from what's been circulated in what I would call non-Christian prophecy circles. Is that Trump could just simply say, I will buy back all the debt that's out there, and I'm going to pay you gold. But there's a catch. The price of gold is going to be much higher than it is today. And he can simply just declare a higher price for gold. Or he can go to the mint and create a coin, and in that coin he can say, this coin is worth $1 trillion, and I'm going to give it to China. And so
now that would be interesting.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things you can do, because that's really, in a lot of ways, it's really fake, because it's been conjured, and so you could just create a collateral, and gold and silver are the best collaterals. They've talked about this before. It's a little bit what Roosevelt did in 1932 when he declared private ownership of gold illegal, and then he basically devalued the currency to such a level that the price of gold was essentially 4 times higher. And so that's what we're going to see again. And that's the easiest way for the politicians out of it. And that's one of the reasons why we tell people, and why we're so interested in gold and gold miners and silver miners, because during the last depression, the Great Depression, the miners performed beautifully. You couldn't own gold, but you could own gold miners. And so that they never saw depression. So that's why I tell people, and that's what we follow when we signal out gold miners and buy and sell signals, because when this thing goes, that's where the money's going to go. It's going to go into precious metal assets, and just like before, nothing changes under the sun.
Right. Well, that's awesome. Hey, so Bob, a lot of people missed your introduction based on the volume just being too low, and I turned it up right when we talked about the Federal Reserve. So this would be a good transition, though, into exactly what Trade Genius does and helps people do just what you were talking about, gold being just one example, right?
Yeah. So what we do is really 4 things. One, we follow and we provide buy and sell signals in the cryptocurrency area, because we believe that's going to replace these banking systems on a go-forward basis. And then also in the stock and ETF, where we provide buy and sell signals. And our big interest is really in the what we call the real economy, the gold miners, silver miners, uranium miners, energy stocks, industrial metals, things that are real. And because our view is that the financial assets, such as the FANG stocks and some of the tech stocks, are really gonna have a tough road to hoe going forward. So we provide buy and sell signals based on algorithms that we created that look at buy signals, buying strength and selling strength. The market tells you what it's going to do. It's not so much a mystery. It's a lot of times it's people's confidence and courage to take the trade.
Yeah.
And we take the emotion out for people, and we literally put buy arrows, sell arrows, and we text out these things for people.
Yeah, I love getting the text. I just love getting the text. And now I just need to get better about knowing how to make it happen, right? So we're going to have a coaching session at 3 o'clock today. By the way, I was going to get my coaching session with Bob, and guess what I did? Guess what happened? Trump moved the meeting right on top of it. It's like... So
yeah, Trump me.
Yeah,
but that's okay. It was a good speech, and then we provide trading rooms so people could be in. We're in them all the time. Market's open. Somebody's there, and you could talk with other traders. You could talk to us and ask questions, and then, like Rick just said, we provide coaching, and then we also provide a whole series of training courses on everything under the sun that people can pick and choose what they want. And then what we've done for you, Rick, is we've created some bundles for what we heavily discounted for your listeners. And there are Martin Luther King bundles because that's this weekend. And if people take advantage of it for Monday at midnight, we already pre-discounted them between 60 and 70% off our normal retail prices. And they're great deals. And like I said at the end of my initial introduction is that we're doing quite well. We have track records on our webpage so you can see the trades we take and how much money we made and lost on every trade. And we have a rolling 6 months, and cryptos are up 250%, and stocks are up nearly 100. And
I should have got trained 6 months ago.
Well, it's actually an amazing time to trade cryptos because it's in a trading range, and you can just keep buying and selling, and then everything's texted out. You see our text; it's real time. So it's recorded, and so we can't make stuff up after the fact, and then we just have very strong rules around when to get in and when to get out, and that's pretty much what we do, and it works really well. We've been doing it a long time, and we like to tell people that we try to help them make money nearly every day in the market, and we're not Lambo guys. We're blue collar, grind it out every day, and over time it just makes you money, and that's it.
Yeah, it's great. I love the buy signals. The fact that you don't take any percentage of the trade, it's just getting trained. You're just training and coaching and having rooms of communities, right? And
yeah, exactly that. And not being greedy. These trades are 1%, 3%, 5%. Sometimes cryptos are a lot more because they jump around. But you just keep making money. We keep moving the stops up, and we help you manage through the trade, and takes a lot of the anxiety out for people. And then we teach you what we're doing. So after a while, you can become pretty proficient yourself. And then a lot of people still hang on and stay with us for years because it's a great community.
All right. If anybody has a question for Bob, type in @BlessToTeach so it turns red for me so I can see it real easily. And I have one last question for you, Bob. In the cryptos, do you think they need to be backed by real things like gold to actually be legitimate? A lot of people are really worried about what they figured may be a scam, right?
Yeah, so they have to be backed by something, and what I mean by something is like Bitcoin's backed by its scarcity, and Litecoin is backed by its ability to do transaction and a desire to have that coin to facilitate. Other coins like BNB, Binance is backed by their whole network that they do to provide your brokerage services. Populous is backed by the credit that they create.
Okay,
and some of them are backed by the contracts they create. But look, make no mistake, you had the guy from First Majestic would love to have nothing more than a silver market blockchained and just obviate the need for the silver banks to basically take their profit away. So I would see in the future, nearly every commodity will move off an exchange and move on to a blockchain. And so that those producers, will get more for their money, and the middleman will get shrunk out of the deal. And that's the whole purpose between the cryptocurrencies is to eliminate the middleman and to provide, higher prices for the supplier and lower costs for the consumer, and get rid of all the parasites out there.
Yeah,
in our countries.
I just love how it eliminates the middleman. It's based on a trusted network. And then, hey, they have one question that I wanted to give them for the audience. They were asking, how do I protect my 401k? Imagine that's a common question you get.
Yeah, so depending on, I'm going to assume the question is that you can't self-direct your 401k. So that means you can't trade it yourself. Is that what I would do in that situation is you just lower the amount of capital that you have in stocks, and if you can move some of that capital into their gold funds or into the bond funds or into cash, I would do that. If you could self-direct, I would probably go from 100% invested down to probably like 60 or 70% invested, and then you could do 10% on. I just did a video today talking about three of the what they call the short ETFs. They're not leveraged, but they move in lockstep the other way that the market moves, and where people can protect themselves. And then look, during a downturn, the bond market will go higher, and so don't worry about people saying the bond interest rates are going to go through the roof. They're going to come down again, and so people can put money into the treasury bond funds that they have them. But other than that, that's if you can self-direct, then that's the best way. And if not, if you're really worried, I wouldn't go zero out because you never know the future. I like to say I think I know what's going to happen, but I think we're more towards a top than a bottom. And I think and if you're older, you have less time to recover if it blows up on you. But if you just take a little bit off the top, you can have that money for a rainy day that you could have bought like after Christmas. You could have bought back in, and now you could take more off again because I think we're topping again for this cycle. And one thing I'll say for people is that every time what happened this last month has happened, every single time there's been 19 times that this has occurred since 1923, where we had a downdraft like we've had and a recovery like we've had. It always tests the downtrend, and 15 out of the 19 times it's gone through it to the bottom. So we probably have a 15 to 25% downdraft coming in the market. The math tells us so. Even though the politicians and the bankers won't, the math tells us to expect that. Okay. And you have to respect historical precedent.
But gold funds as well, not just bonds and stocks.
Yeah, gold funds are good if they have it. I know Fidelity has that, and my business partner in the solar business, he says to me every quarter, he says, "Hey, what should I reallocate to?" And I've been telling him all year, keep reallocating more into the gold fund, allocate out of some of the more high pressure funds, in terms like tech and global funds and things like that. Definitely get out of the global funds and go more domestic and go more towards bonds and more towards gold. I think but I would talk to your advisor and I would ask them these hard questions because I don't know your personal situation.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
speculating.
Yeah, exactly. I know, and I'm just kind of stealing from you here a little bit of advice, so appreciate it because I know I only had 15 minutes of this time, and here I am at almost 25. So appreciate you taking the time. But tell people a little bit how the best way. Yeah, exactly. The best what site they should go to get these training courses, etc.
Yeah, come to tradelikeagenius.com. And once you're there, you'll see we have 6 bundles right up in the front. And then if you want to pick and choose, you can go and just pick individual products if you don't want any of the bundles, and they're also discounted as well. And then you can hit the chat, you can hit the phone, or you can hit email, and we'll help you walk you through it, and then help you get on board. And you can take advantage of things right away.
Great, Bob.
As soon as we get next signal.
Yeah, and do you mind if we get you back on maybe next month if we, especially if some event happens that we want to get your advice on?
Oh yeah, I love it. I love talking about this stuff. Yeah, I would really appreciate it. Well, thank you for offering.
Yeah, sounds awesome. Looking forward to it. All right, that's Bob Kudla from Trade Genius. Again, tradelikeagenius.com, not Jesus. tradelikeagenius.com. All right. Wish we could trade like Jesus, so we'd be really well off then, right?
Yeah, then I'd be rich and give it all away.
That's right. All right. Well, thanks so much, Bob. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
All right. You too. Hey guys, that's an awesome privilege, I think, to get somebody like Bob who can actually has been in this market for so long. And then there was another question that talked about, we didn't have the time to get to. We'll try to get to it next time, about are we taking all our monies out of the bank while this transaction occurs? I don't think that's what he's saying there. And so I see him shaking his head. He hasn't gone off yet, but want to say thanks to Bob. Thank you guys for go check out tradelikeagenius.com. I think you'll really have some great opportunity to learn how to trade. Hey, look, let's get into some of this thing about Trump. And this is like some crazy stuff going on. Reg Rubini. There's a couple things going on. So if you look at everything that was happening with Nancy Pelosi, you look at everything that was going on with the fact that she was taking her entire family and all her grandkids. It's crazy to even look at. And there was one person, before I get into this part, I'm probably going to go into just a graphic that kind of starts pulling some of this thing about, could the deep state been involved in another assassination attempt here? You heard that there was a terrorist trying to use a rocket launcher on the White House, right? And then you all of a sudden you see Nancy going out of town. Are those things related? That's kind of what some of these anons are really starting to analyze, and I'll dig into this. So here you have Nancy, and here it talks about FBI arrests ISIL supporter who planned to attack the White House with anti-tank rockets, and it was supposed to happen on January 17th. So it says, do you believe in coincidence? Did Nancy know? Did POTUS know she knew? And so we know the letter to her talked about, obviously, if you would like to make your journey by flying commercial, that would certainly be your prerogative. And they're pointed back all the way to this October 29th drop by Q. It's talking about Pelosi's net worth, her cover, all kinds of things. And at the end it says, can you rely on being able to board a plane and fly away? And you can see that's obviously Trump says no. Can you rely on being able to board a plane and fly away? Nope, not Nancy, right? But then if we get into what Greg Rubini's talking about, it says breaking coup, assassination attempt on President Trump. And there's a thread here that we're going to look at. Nancy Pelosi is the third in line. If Trump and Pence are assassinated, Nancy Pelosi becomes president of the USA. Now, is that scary? And I didn't know if on the 17th there's a plan for Trump and Pence to be together. But obviously, the deep state can take both of them out. That's probably in their plans. Number 2, Nancy Pelosi, the first female president of the USA. Here's why Nancy Pelosi was so eager to fly away from the country with other 92 persons, Democrat, Republicans, plus families, plus a lot of luggage. Why on a military plane? Why Pelosi wanted to personally select the crew of the military airplane? Nancy wanted to be sure to have Pelosi allied military guys and crew, perhaps. Number 5 here says, why Pelosi first stop was Brussels, NATO headquarters? The Pelosi delegation planned to meet NATO commanders, U.S. military leaders, and key allies. Key allies equals Soros cabal, Merkel, Germany, Rothschild cabal, Macron, France, Deep State cabal, UK, EU, Boozy Junker. So why was also Adam Schiff on that trip? Greg Booney says, number 7, prior to the John F. K.
I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USA Watchdog.com. With us, one of my favorite guests.
It looks like we
just very well
just got
connected. He spent years going in and out of Washington.
So I have some video going on right now that I have to figure out where it is real quick. So we'll see if I can find that real quick and knock that off. So we'll... so I know where that was. So this is a Greg Janda video playing on one of these threads, and I was trying to remember what thread it had it on. I'm trying to get it out of my ear. I'll pull that here right now. So let me know if you guys are okay on sound. I think we're okay. I have a video playing in my ear, so I'll hopefully find that soon and take it off. It's on one of the oh, you know what it is? It's right here. Just remember it. Let me pause it. Boom. Now I can not have all that loud stuff going in my ear as I'm trying to show you all this stuff. But this is just amazing. A potential assassination on Trump. I think there's enough circumstantial evidence to probably point to maybe they had this planned. So here's again 7. Prior to the JFK assassination in November 1963, the entire cabinet was flown to Tokyo, Japan. At the time of the JFK assassination, the entire cabinet was out of the country. Same pattern with Pelosi and Adam Schiff, preparing a new Nancy Pelosi cabinet. Here's why was Pelosi wanting to fly away at all costs. Why Pelosi wanted to fly away with Adam Schiff, plus other 6 Democratic congressmen, plus 85 family members during a government shutdown. Isn't it weird? is the deep state plot assassination attempt and Pence and replace them with Nancy Pelosi as the president of the USA. And what's pretty wild here, I'm going to come back to this in a second. Here's somebody else that's saying, another anon saying, Nancy cancellation excursion consisted of 7 Democrats plus their family for a total of 93 people. Repeat, 7 Democrats plus their extended families for a total of 93 people. 93 people, 86 of whom didn't elect. We didn't elect. Flying the world on taxpayer dime. Inexcusable, Nancy. But there's some weirder stuff here, too. This person says, yesterday, POTUS grounded at Speaker Pelosi's NATO trip to Brussels, EU, Egypt, Muslim Brotherhood, Afghanistan, heroin headquarters. All Pelosi children and grandchildren were also booked. Look at this. All, A-L-L, capital letters. Pelosi's children and grandchildren were also booked. A total 7 congressmen and 93 family members grounded. So this gets really weird. Here's Lady Canuck saying the same thing. They have been planning a soft coup. We've witnessed the lead up. The arrest of the man plotting against the federal buildings is connected. Nancy, Schiff, and 93 family members scheduled to fly out, connected. Can you rely on flying out when you want? That's that Q drop I was talking about. All attempts on POTUS will fail. Now here's even a weirder thing. Here, this is Donna Brazile tweet. Might be able to show you more directly here. That's a different Donna Brazile. She says, Madam Speaker today, President Pelosi shortly thereafter. MLK weekend is underway. Keep hope alive. Was there an assassination attempt this weekend on the Trump? Or even on the 17th? Maybe that's linked. And here we got Brazile saying, Madam Speaker today, President Pelosi shortly thereafter. MLK weekend is underway from Donna Brazile. See if I can blow that up. You can see Donna Brazile right there on her Twitter. This is crazy, ugly stuff if you think about it. So I'll go back to this thread. It says, we know from a trusted source, Dr. Dave Janda, that there have been a dozen of assassination attempts on President Trump. And he's got a link into this David Janda, 12 attempts on President Trump's life. And he kind of reviews that. Here it says, a treasure trove of information also on John Brennan and Dumpy Clapper in that video. It's a very well done video. And as some of you pointed out, we have this. President Pelosi shortly thereafter. President Pelosi? Question mark. So there it is again, Donna Brazile. Today, Madam Speaker today, President Pelosi shortly thereafter. What does it mean? A message to co-conspirators? Why Trump blocked Pelosi's trip at the last minute? Why Trump announced an important speech at the White House scheduled for today, January 19th, 2019. We saw that. It was pretty much just on the border wall, compromise with DACA, compromise with the extending the TCS, etc. Why the presidential alert system has been running several tests in the last days all over the nation. Coincidence? Enjoy the show. So that's that thread by Greg Rubini. And then obviously we had other anons such as Lady Canuck and others kind of being very, very suspicious here. We also had a very suspicious Donna Brazile tweet today. It had RIP #boo. Here she is at 1:37 Eastern Time AM. Donna Brazile still saying, RIP Boo, the world's cutest dog, has died via SK Bear. So here she is, and people are speculating a couple things here. First of all, it's got orange. So could they be predicting Trump dying, or could this be RGB's died? Ruth Bader Ginsburg from the Supreme Court. So a couple weird things by Donna Brazile, especially the one talking about President Pelosi. So interesting things. That's where this whole theory came have the deep state plan to kill Trump here just recently. Of course, I think they're constantly trying to find any way to eliminate him. Right? If they can't get him through impeachment, etc. They had no idea he would last 2+ years. Now he's going strong into his third year. I guess January 20th tomorrow will be the the start, I guess, of his third year. Maybe the left will one day. This is Don Jr. saying maybe the left one will one day stop trying desperately to destroy my family and especially real Donald Trump. Till then, they will keep failing miserably while also undermining themselves and our democracy. Again, this was today. This is this morning. So it looks like everybody knows the deep state took another shot at him, maybe related to the 17th attack by the terrorists with the rocket bombers or other ways to basically not take out just Trump, but take out Pence as well. And then Donna Brazile tweeting about President Pelosi. Weird stuff going on. David Jandis thinks that Obama has actually been also basically written off by the deep state. And that's why he was acting so weird. So we'll get to that a little bit at the end of this. Here's Sarah Sanders. Let me see if I can get this playing well for you guys. Let me know if the volume's good on this as well. It was really loud when I was playing the video, but when I was playing through WhatsApp with Bob, it was not loud enough for you. So just let me know so I can tweak it for going forward. Here is Sarah Sanders reveals the real reason President Trump canceled Pelosi's flight.
Key reasons that the president did not want Speaker Pelosi to leave the country is because if she did, it would all but guarantee the fact that the negotiations couldn't take place over the weekend and 100,000 federal workers wouldn't receive their paychecks because she wasn't here to help make a deal.
So that's just talking about not making a deal. But again, there may have been a lot more than just that specific reason based on what we just saw. Pelosi's husband was accompanying Nancy contrary to DOD Codell policy. So there's a policy you're not supposed to have passenger, spouse, and or family travel. So these 70 plus people that she was taking obviously was against the congressional delegation policy, right? That Codell policy. Here's another ad I'm talking about. What if yesterday was an attempt to flee, and that was the reason Trump shut it down? So it's not just these add-ons. A lot of people really looking at this. Nancy is not dumb. She's a convincing tactical bee. So why would she risk the optics of calling out Trump on holding the State of the Union during a shutdown and then fly off on a world adventure? The Dems were pissed. If it was just a random congressional delegation for a foreign affairs trip, why would they be so ticked off? Yeah, Trump busted them and embarrassed them. But me thinks they had other plans during this trip, going to see their handlers, picking up cash, kiddos, escaping. I have no proof, but only speculation and conjecture. It would be quite a twist. And so this other person saying, no, Democrats are always pissed on anything Trump does, right? Looks like at Speaker Pelosi won't be staying in D.C. for the weekend. She and her detail just passed me at Reagan National Airport. So you can see that somebody caught her, an anon caught her, or somebody in the Where We Go One, Where We Go All movement found her leaving. So she wasn't planning on staying in D.C., that's for sure, no matter what. Something that seriously bothered me about the claim of the State of the Union address being unsafe and the narrative that has been set by this. And so it says, they have started a new narrative, poor security at the State of the Union. Why? How do you know any of the security details at the event? What specifically gave them the data that a future event will be lacking in security? Wishful thinking? And then it says, is it really that much safer to fly to Afghanistan, Egypt, and Belgium than to attend the State of the Union address here in the USA? What are these snakes up to? Right? So some people were speculating that she was putting this out because they knew there was going to be an attempt at the State of the Union maybe. And then they could have said, hey, we told you so, that the security was a concern. POTUS pointing out a subtle point. Did Nancy Pelosi delegate a speaker pro tempore for her Codell? So this temporary speaker that she's supposed to have, she had not done that, right? The speaker pro tem, the speaker roles assigned to the speaker pro tem are to preside over the House in the speaker's absence, exercise the powers and duties of the speaker in her absence, and assume other duties as assigned by the speaker. In some states, this is an honorary position with few substantial duties assigned. So this really stinks, obviously, when you start pulling all this together, especially that Donna Brazile tweet. That is just wild. Trump's grounding of Nancy Pelosi puts a spotlight on taxpayer-funded vacations disguised as official business. 2 vacation trips in January alone. So there's a real big highlight on this now, and WhiteHouse.gov really is focusing on this as well. So hopefully we'll get something out of this. Look at this again, Ben Garrison cartoon. Here's a little U.S. military plane. Your excess baggage, and it shows her being thrown out of the plane, and she's got this suitcase in her hand that says anti-Trump hate. And Adam Schiff landing on the ground, and he's got a little bag called lies. And the U.S. military with Trump's hair is actually kicking him out of the military planes. I love the fact that Pelosi and co. were stuck on a military bus roaming the streets of Washington until they figured out what to do, because they did not want to press to see them disembarking the bus. I think they were trying to rebook and find another way to get to their handlers, right? Trump grounding of Nancy Pelosi puts a spotlight on taxpayer-funded vacations disguised as official business. Here's an article that talks about that. I'm going to read the bolded area here. Trump was calling attention to 2 things. The first being that Nancy Pelosi was planning on leaving the country instead of negotiating to bring an end to the shutdown at home. And second, and what I want to touch on further, is the rampant use of taxpayer money by elected officials to take vacations around the world under the guise of official work. That's exactly right. That is not what should be said. The truth is, many of these trips are not really for official business. Congressmen from the U.S. are treated well when traveling overseas. They are treated as guests and dignitaries, often receiving police escorts and other perks. Another thing that leads to abuse is that these trips are not required to have an itemized list of expenditures, only a total for the trip. So there's no way to tell how lavishly these elected officials lived while on a taxpayer-funded vacation. All of this is coming on the heels of a trip earlier this month by Democrats to Puerto Rico, where many Democrats were photographed lounging poolside and attending a special presentation of the musical Hamilton, which is a Trump-hating musical. I think you guys all know. Why did Pelosi and Congress need to speak to our troops in Afghanistan? The Trump administration upped the ante today, January 18th, barring U.S. lawmakers from traveling on any government-owned and operated aircraft without explicit written approval from the White House Chief of Staff. So the Chief of Staff has to approve everything going forward. So this battle is something much bigger than just what people are talking about, just not letting somebody go while to negotiate the wall. Trump going on the offensive is really a sight to see. This person says he's keeping them dams on their toes so much they can't even come up with good responses. Thank God someone is finally starting to bring up all of the evil caused by the cabal. Keep it up, Trump. This is just the beginning. We're with you. Just a personal note. I thought I'd be displeased that arrests haven't happened by now. But anyone with eyes to see can clearly see that the plan is to wake up the normies with the wall first. Waking up the population, to me, is even more important than the rest. If Trump and friends somehow fail, the more people that wake up, the more likely that the cabal can't regain control. So I think that's just a great point. So everybody's worried about the rest. This is about the Great Awakening. And so we still have a lot of people asleep and completely controlled by the propaganda fake news media, the cabal-controlled media. Judicial Watch uncovers documents detailing Pelosi's repeated requests for military travel. So there's a whole article here digging into a couple of them. Here's a link to her Codell in 2015 to Italy and the Ukraine. And it shows the itinerary of the Codell spent some time at the Vatican going to go through all these documents by Judicial Watch. Seems mostly Dems, but very interesting which rhinos went on the trips. So here they go to talk to all their handlers on taxpayer dollars. Crazy stuff if you think about it. Here's Trump with his announcement where he was going to do this at 3 p.m. He moved it to 4 p.m. later for the announcement, clearly laying out a very reasonable request that gives them the steel wall versus a concrete wall, gives them the DACA, which is more generous than what they've done in the past, as well as that TCA or whatever, extending that for 3 years. So it makes a lot of sense, and it's going to expose all those senators, which are going to do a vote next week. All the Democratic senators, if they all in unison don't vote for that, they are gonna be exposed as not even wanting to make a deal. And here's President Trump announces massive pro-life declaration in American history. I want to listen to this a little bit with you guys, just because it shows the heart of our president. I believe is he's become a believer now. He really believes in the sanctity of life. I really believe he is a born-again person now. As Kim Clement said, he's breathed life into him right when he took the office, and he was a secular Cyrus before that being used, and now he's both and Cyrus probably became a believer too if you go do some studying on him in Isaiah 45, which is real interesting because he's Trump president number 45, and Isaiah 45 is all about Cyrus, where God appointed him to do remarkable things 150 years before he was even born. That's what Isaiah 45 was written before that. That's what's crazy about it. But here he is talking about this pro-life declaration. Let's listen to President Trump.
But it's our high honor and distinct privilege to introduce to you the 45th President of the United States of America. Here's a message from President Donald Trump.
How's the volume?
Today I'm very proud to welcome tens of thousands of families, students, and people of all faiths and backgrounds to our nation's capital for the 46th annual March for Life. This is a movement founded on love and grounded in the nobility and dignity of every human life. When we look into the eyes of a newborn child, we see the beauty and the human soul and the majesty of God's creation. We know that every life has meaning and that every life is worth protecting. As president, I will always defend the first right in our Declaration of Independence, the right to life. During my first week in office, I reinstated the Mexico City policy. We have taken bold action to protect the religious freedoms of doctors, nurses, and charities like the Little Sisters of the Poor. We issued a new proposal to prohibit Title X taxpayer funding from going to any clinic that performs abortions. We are supporting the loving choice of adoption and foster care, including through the support of faith-based adoption services.
Yeah.
And I am supporting the U.S. Senate's effort to make permanent the Hyde Amendment, which prohibits taxpayer funding for abortion in spending bills. Today I have signed a letter to Congress to make clear that if they send any legislation to my desk that weakens the protection of human life, I will issue a veto, and we have the support to uphold those vetoes. Every child is a sacred gift from God.
Yes.
As this year's March for Life theme says, each person is unique from day one. That's a very important phrase, unique from day one, and so true. I want to thank Americans who traveled all across the country to March for Life, and I especially want to thank so many young people who give us hope for the future. Together we will work to save the lives of unborn children so that they have a chance to live and to love, to thrive and to dream, and to bless our nation and reach their full and glorious potential. Thank you. God bless you and your families, and God bless America.
I think there was over 100,000 people at this. It was completely ignored by the mainstream media. They're the biggest enemy of the people. Everything they ignore that is important, and then they emphasize things like the Russia fake collusion. It's the enemy of the people 100%. It's the reason why we have so many people that are controlled versus awake. And so we need to be continuing to pray against this fake news media and for this them being exposed completely. Here's Governor Ron DeSantis suspends Palm Beach elections chief Susan Buncher. So he's really getting aggressive. So happy we have somebody who supports the president and is MAGA oriented as the governor of Florida and taking action on that corrupt area. Yes, we will be praying for the president at the end of this. Breaking, first media outlet to report on Ruth Bader Ginsburg's cancer now says she's contracted pneumonia, is fighting for her life, which is interesting. So actually to see this from from actually public is really preparing, and she may be even already dead based on what we know with the tweet from Donna Brazil. But anyway, we'll see. So there's people demanding proof of life now because she hasn't been basically seen in public and or been able to work at all January, right? Mueller team disputes BuzzFeed report claiming Trump told Cohen to lie. Now this is really amazing that you would have BuzzFeed literally put out a bunch of lies on anonymous sources again, and now the conservative sources will often rebuttal them. But are you kidding me? The Mueller Council actually talking against it? So BuzzFeed just fought back about this, but they clearly says in response to the statement tonight from the special counsel spokesman, this is the BuzzFeed guy, we stand by our reporting and the sources who informed it. And we urge the special counsel to make clear what he's disputing. So just the fact, though, that you have the special counsel, and there's some people saying that they know that once we get the confirmation of the new attorney general that they knew he would be nailed if they didn't try to help bring some truth into this investigation. So I actually think this is also some evidence toward the white hat nature of this. Maybe starting to turn a little bit. We'll see. Where I believe they're working also with all the information they're gathering is also a ton of it's going to Mueller. I'm sorry, to Horowitz, the IG, as well as to Huber, the special prosecutor, and other potential special prosecutors they've mentioned lately. Here's a Gateway Pundit article saying 100,000 supporters turn out for the annual March for Life. USA Today reports more than 1,000. CNN, MSNBC completely ignore. Can you believe that? They completely ignore it. So kudos to USA Today for actually saying something. They're usually right there with the cabal. Letter to America. Trump is the best president you've ever had. So this is somebody from the UK saying, speaking from a distance, the UK, I'd like to offer my strongest respect to POTUS out of every U.S. president since the first one I was aware of, Reagan. In those days, I wasn't aware of the toxicity of mendacity of the MSM. So I took the media's word that Reagan was a harmless buffoon that they made him out to be, the guy from the movie who played alongside a chimp, and didn't realize that he was doing his bit to take down the cabal. A nearly fatal move that had GWB try to 187 him. The Bush, Clinton, and Obama eras were so depressing that I must confess to developing a deep and passionate hatred for the USA over those dark years. The legion of crimes and U.S. unleashed upon the world drew me to the conclusion that the whole of the United States of America was clinically insane. The media would show us footage of Americans enthusiastically calling for the revenge for 9/11, even though by 2003 it was embarrassingly obvious that the whole thing was a hoax. The death of the bloodshed of the U.S. visited upon the world from Operation Desert Storm through the 9/11 sponsored carnage in Iraq and Afghanistan, then Libya, Syria, and on, just made me think that all Americans ever seem to want is blood. How could have I known that it was all a decades-long deep state war against humanity itself? I was aware, of course, that pretty much all U.S. presidents are related by blood to the ruling monarchs of Europe, but pre-internet it was hard to put everything together. I devoured the books of David Icke, but the deep state quickly trashed his reputation, and no one else I knew would even read his books. I couldn't even lend his books out to friends. Then at last, along comes a man out of nowhere, brash, bullish, and brimming with confidence, and simply rolls up his sleeves and cracks everyone's head together, telling them the party's over. Go home, cabal. You're drunk. His I don't give an F attitude is breathtakingly refreshing. The picture of him at the NATO summit, arms folded, lips pursed, in almost childlike defiance, with Merkel standing over him and everyone in the room baffled and bewildered at this man's impertinence, was the moment that flickered and switched in my head and made me fall in love with him. Here he is, this picture. It just tells 1,000 words where he's just sitting there. I don't care what you guys are telling me. I'm moving forward. And this is a great article. Go ahead and read the rest of that. And they really don't have the whole time to do it. But it says, Donald John Trump is making America great again. And it is wonderful to behold. God bless Trump and God bless America. That's from somebody from the UK. So awesome to just see what's going on here. Here's President Trump. Latino support jumps 19%. You didn't see this in the mainstream media. So this was just an article yesterday or the day before maybe. So guys, one of my new sponsors is PatriotRates.com. So if you really want to get lower insurance rates, whether it's home, auto, or life, come to PatriotRates.com. You may have to use HTTP or HTTPS, but you can get there on PatriotRates.com. Again, what's kind of cool about this is that they just basically says stop paying for overpriced insurance. How many are you are tired of paying too much for auto, health, or insurance? Cut your rates substantially and save big. An American insurance company you can trust, owned by veterans. Patriot Rates sources competitive pricing, auto, health, and life insurance, and will always have your back when it comes to finding the lowest quotes. Again, www.patriotsrate.com. They also work with some great companies such as Allstate and AAA, Farmers Insurance, Metro Mile, and Nationwide. So get a quote and get your rates down. Another sponsor, this is brand new, 2019, the Patriot Kit. This is really cool. The Patriot Flashlight Kit. This is pretty amazing if you really start looking at what this thing does. I'm going to show you here in a second the actual device, but it's like, with all the common threats nowadays in America, especially the new caravan amassing in Central America and up the border, the future America is not promised for, and either is your safety. One of the best things you can do to invest is your homeward protection as a Patriot Flashlight Kit. The Patriot Flashlight Kit contains one of the most reliable, durable, and brightest flashlights available in the marketplace. The Night Protector selling points, and here they are there. You got 5 brightness modes, and very soft and very blinding. It's really cool because it also has a strobe and an SOS signal, which I'll show you in a second. Say goodbye to expensive battery purchases. This is a rechargeable lithium battery that comes with it. It actually is waterproof as well. So this thing's pretty cool. And then, so when you turn this on, you can see it can be blinding to somebody. You can also pull it back to all kinds of different ranges. It's also got 5 different modes, right? Like there's the strobe mode. Again, you can pull that back at any of these kinds. It can be seen from over 2 miles away. But again, 5 different modes you'll see based on the brightness and the different types of strobes, including the SOS 1, 2. That you can get on as well. But again, just the fact that you have all these different modes, plus the blinding, plus the fact it's waterproof, comes with a way to actually, let me turn that off before it's going to charge up a rechargeable battery, whether it's in your car or your DC. And then you can also get, and obviously you're recharging the battery. Even when you're recharging the battery, you can put regular batteries in this device to put it in. It comes with a case as well as the whole case that holds all the equipment. This is the Patriot Flashlight Kit. Go to www.thepatriotkit, thepatriotkit.com. You can do Bless20 for a 20% discount beyond even the 50% discount they're giving you. Bless20 in the coupon code, thepatriotkit.com. All right, guys, let's finish up some other cool stuff. Here's Kim.com saying BuzzFeed's description of specific statements to the special counsel's office and characterization of documents and testimony obtained by this office regarding Michael Cohen's congressional testimony are not accurate, right? That is just the fact that he's saying that, and so they're being, the whole thing's not accurate. So that's the fact. And New Zealand spies. Here's another thing from Kim.com saying New Zealand spies on their own citizens and feeds the data to the NSA spy cloud. The world's largest criminal conspiracy, the deep state global network, is sharing all your data and communication, a breach of laws and human rights. And there's and so you can get in more details and actually look at the spy within their little spy. So the whole Five Eyes thing's being exposed. Now in New Zealand we see it being exposed. Letty Canuck's a great place to go. I think I already pulled the ones I wanted over there. Here's 4 Americans killed in Syria had skills needed for highly sensitive intelligence gathering. Isn't that sad? Their work was highly classified. So they may have been killing 2 birds with 1 stone, trying to create us and keep us there in endless wars, plus eliminating people they didn't want talking that might have been, working on some of the deep state stuff. Who knows? But it's scary that American people are being killed based upon the deep state lust for power. Don't kid yourself. The Federal Reserve isn't done with interest rate increases. So we may see a lot more of that, as we talked about earlier in the show. Charlie Cook saying Article 2, Section 3 of the Constitution allows the president to convene both chambers of Congress under extraordinary circumstances. Pelosi doesn't have the authority to prevent Trump from giving a national address. Real Donald Trump should use this constitutional authority. So that would be interesting too, because I didn't know that. And we looked at Donna Brazil stuff. This is a funny meme. On December 17th, 1903, the Wright brothers flew 852 feet. That's 852 feet farther than Nancy Pelosi flew on January 17th, 2019. This cracks me up, how some of these guys. Now look at this. Obama supposedly put this tweet out that says, I knew it way back then, and I'm absolutely convinced of today. You're one of a kind, Michelle Obama. Happy birthday. But there's this really clear view that looks like it's been photoshopped to make it sure we can read it. That's been updated here. So many people think that Obama, at least this guy here, the same guy that was talking about the assassination attempt, named Greg Rubini, is thinking that this is, since it clearly shows that being a easy to read Kenyan newspaper, that he's reading that Obama is literally in Gitmo and that he was born in Kenya, just because that's a Kenyan newspaper. It's a big jump for me. I'll link this thread he has in here talking about he thinks that NSA's trolling, checkmate, and that he really believes that this means that the Kenyan newspaper means that he's actually in Gitmo. The purpose of the photo is to tell us patriots that our guys have Hussein in custody in Gitmo. Boom, 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 boom. Game over. That's a big leap for me. You guys make your own decision on that. But that's the news I have for you today. I did want to get into an Amanda Grace prophecy here in a second. Obviously, you can get everything I just showed you. You can get here on my show notes at blessedtoteach.com. Blessed2teach.com. Easiest way to get them is to come on, get added to my email address, and you get a link to all the notes real easily. I'm also on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, and iHeartRadio if you want a lower bandwidth viewing experience. And again, the show notes are come out pretty awesome. So I think you'll enjoy getting a link right to these. So come to blessed2teach with a 2.com and get added to the show notes to be able to get all the show notes each time. I have the prophecies at the end as well. Here's Amanda Grace. So those of you who haven't been following me lately, her husband literally had an emergency brain surgery from a motorcycle accident way back when he was 17. It's been dormant up there, and then boom, it unleashed on her 2 days before she's supposed to come on the show. She may be on Monday or Tuesday, depending on how things are going with Chris. But here she is giving an update on Chris. Basically, Chris went to Bible college. He wanted to do ministry, but he ended up getting caught up into basically being a contractor, because he's really good at that. But she sees it that God might be using this circumstance to maybe bring him back into ministry. And so she got a word from the Lord, and here's a little bit of that right now.
But I was saying, this is the Lazarus year where things are resurrected, okay? So when this is coming full circle, what you thought was lost is going to be resurrected. Chris thought He lost his chance to be in ministry until he saw what the Lord did with me. And how the Lord put me through my paces, and how he raised me up and gave me a testimony and a voice for his glory. And Chris began to see this, and he began to have hope. I saw it in him that maybe, just maybe, the Lord would give him a chance at ministry. And the Lord thy God is going to give Chris that chance that he thought was lost, that he thought was gone, that he thought was dead. And Lazarus year going to resurrect it and bring it back around in order for you to get the second chance at doing what the Lord has called you to do, and walking in his perfect will, and seeing when you walk in his perfect will how things operate like a well-oiled machine, and how the favor of God just rains down on you like the latter rains. Okay, the latter rain shall be greater than the former rain, says the Lord thy God. Like the latter rains, okay, it'll be like a faucet opened up, because I am experiencing this. It'll be like a faucet opened up, because you have stepped into the will of God. You have accepted the challenge that he has given you. You have accepted the position. You have accepted walking out something that might be difficult with your spouse. You have accepted it. You have embraced it. And you have decided to be obedient to the Lord and do it. And when that...
And I just want to kind of encourage you to go to Amanda's channel and subscribe to her, and listen to the rest of that if you feel that it has anything to do with you. Could you have been had some type of heart to do some type of ministry or some type of great work for God, and you got sidetracked somehow? Is God calling you back? This Lazarus resurrection, right? Is this full circle thing? Is he calling you back to do something amazing for him? So think about that. Pray about that. It could be an amazing time. I think it's going to be as these deep state operatives get ripped out of the government and ripped out of all pieces of our society, as he pulls out the roots of this unrighteousness everywhere. Again, there's going to be huge need for the army of God, huge need for people to come in and take the place and actually do what it change the culture, impact the culture for good. So what's God calling you to? That's an exciting thing to think through. Heavenly Father, I just thank you for this ability to broadcast to so many people simultaneously, how exciting that is. And Lord, I just pray for each person who can hear my voice now, whether it's live or in the recording, that right now they'll just get a fresh spirit of wisdom, fresh spirit of discernment, fresh spirit of being able to really understand what you're calling them to. Lord, allow us all to just understand where we've said things that are wrong. Please, especially me, as I'm teaching in this platform, if there's things that I need to correct, please let that be clear. Give discernment to the listeners and be able to communicate with me back. Allow us to preach truth, to talk truth, to show truth on this broadcast. Allow your mighty movement to just go forward, Lord. Thank you for healing this nation. We're just so appreciative of that, Lord. And we just, like Amanda Grace is talking about, you have the power of resurrection. Like you resurrected Lazarus from the dead. You actually have this whole full circle type thing where you can take somebody that had your heart, they had their heart on some type of way to work with you, and you're going to reinvigorate that, Lord. We just look forward to this. And we look forward to just walking with you on this journey, and we say these things in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, guys, thank you so much again for taking the time here on this Saturday. Hope you guys all have an awesome Saturday night. Of those of you who are overseas, you're probably at totally different time zones, but whether you were watching the recording, etc., have an awesome next 24 hours. Here we are talking to David and Damien and Beach Girl and Retired Person and Cindy and Marilyn and Double, another phase. Amy, thank you for joining the moderators. Appreciate that. Sandy, looks like you already zapped Tom. Sandra, Hortons, Michelle, Thomas, Light and Dark, Retired Person, Margaret, James. Thank you guys so much for joining me here live. Hi from the UK, says Switch. Thank you. It's just so cool. Wasn't that UK writing about Trump awesome? That was just so awesome. Hello from Vegas, says Kip. Appreciate that. Lou by New Criminal. Somebody's just talking to Lou there. Really appreciate you guys. Blessed Teach Army is sound great on their first day. A keeper. Oh, Amy. Amy is sound. A great day for her first day. Thank you, Lou. Glad you guys have some extra help there. No, it's not easy to have this many people on. I'm not sure what we peaked out at, but there was quite a few people on today, where it looks like we peaked out around almost 1,600 people. So 1,604 looks like. So that's a lot to be all live together. It's a blessing to be able to spend this time for you. So somebody's saying, have you heard about Brennan Military Tribunals to be live? I wish, Damien. So no, I have not heard about that, but I sure hope we get to see this. My daughter's list a friend in the terrorist attack in Nairobi. My daughter list a friend. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, Terry, but yeah, it's interesting how God is just exposing evil. It's just a beautiful thing. Great show, says Scooby Scoob. Thanks so much for that. Yeah, I think it's awesome to have Bob on every once in a while and get his, see what's happened over the last 2 or 3, 4 weeks and get his opinion on it, being such a brilliant person around the Federal Reserve and all the financial stuff. I need to get better at being able to do some trading and spread my stuff around better. Eric saying JFK Jr. is alive. I hope so. I don't think he is, but I'm not convinced from what I've seen, but it would be awesome if it is. But she lost a friend. I see, Terry. Bummer. So one of the 4 people, I guess she lost a friend from one of those 4 people that got killed over in, not sure if you were talking about, that was I think that was in Syria. I'm so sorry. I will pray for your daughter here, and we'll pray for Donald Trump. I don't think I did that in the prayer at the end there. So let's do those 2 things, and we'll wrap it up here. Heavenly Father, I pray for Terry's daughter and the loss of a friend, and these terrorists. Is just amazing how you could have a cabal so much lust for power, so much lust for money, that they are willing to kill anybody and everybody. And Lord, they are worse than the mafia. They really are. These are evil people, and we just thank you for exposing them. And Lord, just please allow us to join you in this movement, but most importantly, Lord, just please protect Donald Trump, protect more innocent people. Lord, please wake up our friends and family as soon as possible, so less and less destruction can happen during this transition time to as you give Trump and the military intelligence and the NSA the power to bring the power back to the people. Thank you for that, Lord. We pray for protection around Donald Trump and Mike Pence and around the entire White Hat operation that's going on right now. And please expose Nancy Pelosi, expose her puppet masters, expose exactly what's going on with this deep state operatives everywhere, Lord. Thank you for that. We pray for healing for Terry's daughter, that she'll become awake and be used in a mighty way for your kingdom. We say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me again here. And we'll hopefully have Amanda Grace again on here soon. I just want you guys to hear her testimony. It's just an amazing thing, I believe. And it just shows the power of God and just how he's going to be using people in different ways as we go forward here. Again, this is the Blessed to Teach show here on January 19th, Saturday. This is Rick, your host. We're talking about a deep state attempt to kill Trump. That's what many people think. Multiple anons coming to that conclusion, all coordinated around this whole Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi leaving with all their family members, visiting Brussels, the EU headquarters, and then the Fed actually tanking the economy. Is that really happening? It looks like that there might be some restructuring coming. Exciting times ahead. God bless you guys. We'll talk to you next time.